Well, thank everybody for coming out to 1 Million Cups. Whose first time is it? Anybody first timers? First time? So, 2 cups. And I have another one here for Mr. Brian Telos. I'll grab this real quick. We've got a special coffee cup for you because hashtag 1MCOKC. Thank you. And thank you for your service. All right. So we've got a couple announcements. We've got business cards. This place in this basket over here. Disney's coming. The Disney Institute for Creativity and Innovation. The tickets are regularly like $395. So get your business card in there so you can get in on that. It's a free ticket. On top of that, we got, that's an old slide. Next week, right after 1 Million Cups, we're going to have a tour of the Fab Lab. Does everybody know what the Fab Lab is? Or they got like 3D printers and a whole bunch of
digital
technology type stuff going on over there. So you can stick around afterwards next week. We're all going to go on a tour and check it out. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our first presentation, which I believe is Cece, right, from Society 16.
Testing.
Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. So my name is Cece. I'm a college student down in Norman at OU. This is a bit different from what you usually see here at 1 Million Cups. So this is just a concept. It's an idea that I've had in the back of my mind for a while and something that I wanted to share with you guys this morning. So the concept is called Society 16. To start off, I want you to think about the people you know and how you know them. So these are probably your neighbors, your coworkers, maybe former, current classmates. The point is you live in a pretty small world and it's kind of hard to reach outside of your social bubble and meet new people. And at the same time, Oklahoma City's culture is really starting to grow. You see a lot of art events, social events, music events, and you sort of realize that there are a lot of cool people in this city. So wouldn't it be great if you could go out and meet some of those people? And that's what Society 16 is about. It's a secret dinner society. Now, before you get any crazy ideas, I want you to look at these images and sort of plant these images in your mind. These are from the Instagram feed of Spring Street Social Society, which is a secret dinner society up in New York City. That was a mouthful. But you can sort of see the environment, the candlelight, the intimate spaces that Society 16 would ideally create. So what would something like this look like in Oklahoma City? Well, first of all, you would need some cool places, good locations, really anywhere with personality works. So whether that personality is fancy or just quirky or kind of cool. And the good news is there are a lot of nice places in Oklahoma City. The second piece of that is the food. And so the idea here is to partner with local restaurants and provide maybe like a 3-course meal with wine. And so it's mutually beneficial in the way that restaurants get exposed to potential patrons and Society 16 members get a great dinner with wine. But it's all about the people in the end. So Society 16 is about bringing together people from all walks of life, whether those are students or artists or any kind of professional. Anyone could be an attendee of a dinner, and all they have to have is cool life stories or good experiences that they're willing to put out there and share with complete strangers over a nice dinner. So with people, it looks something like this. And you can sort of put yourself in these pictures and imagine, you can see them, they all look different, but they're all clearly having a good time. They're talking, laughing, sharing stories, and you can sort of hear in the back of your mind, like clinking wine glasses and silverware, and that sort of laughter, really lighthearted environment where people are just sharing stories. A bit of logistics. Membership could be applied for using an online application where people just tell us their basic information, maybe what they do, and something interesting about themselves. And there's also this secret aspect of it, which makes it all kind of interesting and weird. And so the idea here is to keep the location and menu completely under wraps until maybe an hour or two before the actual event. So imagine getting like a mysterious text message or phone call an hour or two before this dinner is supposed to happen, telling you exactly where to go and maybe a hint about the night's theme. And that's that's my favorite part, the secret, the mystery. So why do something like this? Well, first of all, it's something interesting to bring to Oklahoma City. And it's this weird, quirky thing that lends to the overall cultural landscape of Oklahoma City and what Oklahoma City is really starting to become in terms of culture. But more importantly, it's about bringing people together and bringing them closer. It's about bringing people closer to the places and the restaurants, but most importantly, the other people of Oklahoma City. And so it's about putting people in a room, complete strangers, and giving them the opportunity to talk about themselves and learn about the people that they walk by on a daily basis. It's about reaching outside of your own world and getting to meet the people that you may not ever have met otherwise. So, thanks. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing society?
So this was sort of an idea that I had probably in spring, and then I presented this in Tulsa, 1 Million Cups, and the organizers there really sort of pushed me to actually get something going. And so about a month ago, I set up a website, society16.com, with like a form, sort of survey. And so this has been in my mind since spring, but on the web since a month ago.
So how are you going to encourage people to come to Society 16? How are you going to motivate them to do that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. A lot of that is putting this idea in front of the communities that would really embrace it. And so one of those would be something like this. And other options would be going out into maybe like young professional organizations, or I know several professors who would be interested probably in doing something like this. And so really just putting this idea in front of organizations that contain the people who would be interested in doing something like this.
You said your website has a survey. What do you still need to know?
One big question is the price point. And I've gotten feedback from different people. Some people say, well, generally it's been around like $100 is what I've heard from people, but it would really be nice to get a survey going of what people really think of that. Mm-hmm. And then I've also been playing around with the idea of, so Spring Street Social Society does not only dinners, but sort of events. And so it'd be cool to have some sort of event or entertainment aspect linked to the dinner as well. So just ideas for that. Yeah.
Okay, in terms of referencing the other ones, Spring Street, for example, do you have an idea that it's a for-profit business, or is it just a community stimulation, or is it like minds, meet and exchange? What is the ultimate purpose, and does it have a for-profit nature?
I don't know whether, I'm pretty sure it's for-profit, but that's not the primary goal. And so I think the primary goal for that and this would be sort of community stimulation, as you said. And then, if enough people are interested and if everything works out, there could be a profit aspect to it, but that wouldn't be the primary goal necessarily.
Gotcha. Well, okay, so follow-up is that, would you offer sort of, an eccentric version of a sponsorship, which would be more like an idea sponsorship, a thought leader sponsorship, instead of just commercial logo-based type stuff like that? Is that an opportunity?
What do you mean?
So, for example, people are sitting down at one of those beautiful outdoor settings, and just in front of them, in the most discreet sort of way, almost like name plaque size, are the sponsors, just like 2 or 3 QR codes, and if people are interested, they scan them and they find out what it is.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be cool.
But, tasteful.
But tasteful. Yeah, but cool. That's my idea. Yeah.
So you said you're a student at OU. What is your major? What year are you? And do you plan to potentially do this full time when you're done?
Yeah, so I got that question in Tulsa too. I'm a chemical biosciences major. I'm pre-med, like obviously, right? So no, medical school is sort of like my official track, but I really have grown up with a lot of entrepreneurship stuff around me with my parents and stuff, and so that's sort of like my dream kind of thing. And then medical school is like the track that I'm on officially. Yeah.
Nobody did chemical bioscience and that goes to that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's could be something else.
Cece, when you think about bringing value to the members, there's going to be questions about how do I ensure that the person who's sitting across the table from me, the other 15 people, are people that I'm going to engage with. And so there's kind of a matchmaker element to this too. Can you talk about some of your thoughts around how you would address those issues?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think a lot of that would probably come through in the membership application or something like that, where you can kind of see people's backgrounds. You can sort of get an idea of their personality. And that's another reason why I chose 16 is because it's not too many people, like it's still kind of intimate, but it's also not like 5 people where the chances that it would be awkward are much higher. And so I think number one, it's the relatively high number of people, and number two, in terms of matchmaking, that could be tried through the application, what people say on there.
This is a follow-on question to Gunner's, but it does sound like a fabulous dating site. So how do you prevent that? Like, let's follow on Gunner's, and have you looked at, like, sort of, when you talk about the matchmaking and the online application and that kind of thing would be really important. So assumedly you would eliminate some people. They wouldn't get through in the application process. So that answers part of the question, I guess, is how do you keep it from being like a matchmaking endeavor?
If this turned into a complete matchmaking thing, I think that's called a pivot. Maybe that's a market. But yeah, so one thing that people could do would be to come as couples, if they're uncomfortable with the idea of coming by themselves. But if people meet and form lasting connections through this, that's pretty cool too. So I'm not entirely opposed to that. You had your hand up first.
I guess maybe I misunderstood, but so is this like like 16 people all at a dinner, and now are you doing intervals of every 15 minutes? You're switching to somebody else, like a speed dating, or like? And how does that? Do you go to 16 different dinners so you can meet everybody there, or like how does that work? How does the logistics work?
Yeah. So the idea here, well, what I was originally envisioning was not necessarily having intervals, but just having like a table with 8 people on each side, or like a round table. Actually, that's a pretty big round table. But yeah, or maybe switching halfway through, so that it's kind of hard to meet 15 people when you're sitting at one place at a table. So maybe switching halfway through, like before dessert or something like that.
Okay.
So you're not going to just have 16 members, right?
Right.
So how are you going to scale it? How are you going to manage the events? Because one event, 60 people, if you have 160 people, obviously, for events. Mm-hmm. And what are people getting for their value? What's the value proposition for the person signing up for your service?
Yeah, so the value proposition is that they get to be in on this secret, that they get to experience this cool event where they get to go to a place and have this dinner and meet a bunch of people that they would really enjoy the company of. And that's sort of the same value proposition as the Spring Street social site. It's sort of like a secret that people really like the exclusivity of it, that they get to be in on something that other people may not be in on.
Is it an elite society, or is it just...
Judging by the pictures, I think they're pretty normal people. Membership and dinners do cost like a couple $100 for them, and so maybe in that way it is sort of elite, but they're not all like 50-year-old businessmen type people. So.
What's the matter with 50-year-old?
On 50-year-old real estate.
Okay.
That's a question, but actually, what is your target market? Who is ideal for you to be to take care of this? Is to bring OKC to culture?
And is it age specific?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question.
Great question.
So really, it's hard to. I haven't thought exactly of, this is the target market that would be most likely to do something like this. Obviously, I think entrepreneurs are probably more likely to buy into something different and weird like this, and so maybe that's sort of an initial in to getting people to be interested in this. But in terms of eventually what the target market could look like, that's a much harder question. Maybe impossible to answer right now. Yes.
Two things. One, I think, I know it's early stage for you, and so a lot of these things you haven't thought through, but I think the concept is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's obviously worked in other markets, and I think it would be, OKC's going through kind of a renaissance right now, so I think if any other time, now's the time. So I definitely want to encourage you to do this. Two things. There's one other thing with two different kind of things to look into. There's, I wouldn't call them, certainly not identical to this. There's a kind of it's not a secret society or anything, but it's a kind of secret dinner club. And my own I have tried to get into it multiple times, and we never seem to get the email. I don't know if they've got our email wrong or something, but and so they do them in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Norman, and all this kind of stuff, and they kind of pick different places. But it's similar, but it's not its own kind of society with the same people going every time. It's kind of like you get an invite or you don't. We never seem to get it. And then the other one is really cool. It's called Outstanding in the Field. Their website is outstandinginthefield.com. It's more of a national thing. And it was these designers who were kind of experienced designers. And what they do is they take kind of a big outdoor table, like 3 times longer than this whole row. They put it in the middle of a field, and they do kind of a farm-to-table dinner. And they do it in different places, on the beach or in a vineyard. When it's here, it's at a buffalo farm. I think this year it's going to be at Carlton Landing at Lake Eufaula. And they bring local folks like Jonathan Stranger from Ludovine, and the guy who's on Top Chef from Oklahoma, who was at George for a while, and cook these just incredible dinners. And you just sign up to go. It's not really a society, but it's just this fantastic dinner event. And we've gone every year it's been at home, and it's just been unbelievably awesome. So something like this that's been on a regular basis and all those kind of things is fantastic. I'd definitely look into I think it's called Secret Fork, and I know it's called Outstanding.
How much do those cost, do you know?
Okay. Outstanding in the Field is a whole experience. It's like $200 a plate. The Secret Fork, I don't know. We've never gotten it. So.
It's so secret.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
It's like a haunted dinner. It's not real. I think you're onto something great here, and I think you need to think about it some more, because you might come up with 2 different things. You might come up with 2 different, very interesting things. I already feel like I've missed it. I already feel like I've left out. I've been left out of something, and I think you're on something.
Thanks. Yeah.
So that seems to be one of the primary value propositions is exclusivity. The one we just heard was food, right? So I think food matters a great deal to paying a certain price point, or so location of food. How do you deal with the foodies? Is that part of what you'll get from the experience, or is it really just a mixer? And if it is a mixer, have you considered how you mix gameplay, for instance? Of course, in the Victorian era, when aristocracy was to do mixers, games were a way to make sure you're not talking to just the person next to you. So I'm not sure if any of the other societies have some kind of mixing apparatus, maybe some kind of stimulating conversation, or having someone who comes in who does that job. So I'm just curious if any of the other models have something that solves the problem besides the swap seats. Have you seen anything or been able to define any kind of? Because I go to dinner all the time, and I don't find all that good.
Oh, really?
Loud, and I've met this person at the end.
Yeah.
But I'd love to go to something where it's organized in such a way it's very just exclusivity?
No, so I think food is probably not the primary, and so with a lot of these other dinner societies, food is like the thing that you're going for, and I don't think that's not the primary goal of this. It's not intended specifically for foodies. In terms of games, so I know that Spring Street, at least, they've done like murder mystery dinners and I think like a cabaret show, something like that, to go along with their dinner. So yeah, definitely this idea of shared experiences and using that as a way to meet and connect with people. So yeah, that's definitely something that I have to consider entertainment-wise.
Yeah, so what's your motivation for wanting to do this? I mean, you're pre-med, bio, have some entrepreneurial inclinations and everything, but why this idea? What's making you work on that?
Yeah, I get that question a lot because I am pre-med. And it's a cool idea, and I really like it because I think a lot of times, especially as a young person growing up with social media, it's hard to sort of get out there and meet people. And so it just occurred to me that there's really no way to meet someone that I might really like that just simply doesn't live in the same world, who's not pre-med, who's not my major, who's not my year, like goes to OU specifically, lives in the North. And so it's hard to meet people like that.
Have you thought about making that your target market? Like basically just saying, I really want to build this because this is the kind of people I'm looking to meet. There are probably other people that are interested in that too. And so instead of even saying like, if you put it on the web or you do advertising kind of everywhere, you might get everything across the board. But it sounds like you're really going for kind of a specific, you had an interest. There are other people that probably have the same interest. I'm just wondering, have you thought about that? Because you can even start this instead of even online and everything, local at OU, or you know what I mean? Because you use it. So just a suggestion.
No, that's a really good point. The thing is, though, with the price point, like I'm not sure if university students would be comfortable with that. That's definitely something to consider. Maybe something that I'll try just to start off with.
You can do a test market lower price point for students.
That's true.
And professors have a higher price point.
Because the thing is, honestly,
you can scale it to manage your
and sponsorship again.
When you become a doctor, you'll be in the price point.
Nice.
That'll work itself.
Yeah.
You have a credit card, right?
Cece, I think that one thing that you'll want to focus in on is, if it's about bringing interesting people together, there is going to be a challenge to that because price point's going to matter. Some people would want to be involved because there's the hope that you're going to bring a different level of person to them, and the person at the higher level may look at it and say, I don't know how interesting that person is. Case in point, the Edmund Chamber had tried a concept of doing kind of a 4 or 5 person luncheon. They could never get critical mass there, so where it fell apart was that you started going to these lunches and it was the same person every time. In some cases, they even set me up with my own client. And, so it was, they never got enough traction around something like that. But if you flip this a little bit and say, you hear about the success of a higher price point based on a dinner, based on this, by the very nature of that, you're going to attract a certain caliber of person. It's going to exclude certain people. The student can't afford the $250 dinner, but somebody who doesn't think twice about a $250 dinner is going to be probably a very interesting prospect for that. So, a $5 luncheon that the chamber was putting together to try and get people to meet didn't succeed. So the point just being is, think twice about what the niche is that you're really after, because how you focus on that will attract the right element to that niche. But if it's about, let's just make this interesting to people, there's going to be a challenge of who defines interesting and what does that really look like. And, will I get a homeless person sitting next to me that may be interesting, but, is it really what I'm looking for out of the event?
So what do you need to launch?
So I have sort of the website and everything set up. Really, it's about, I have the idea, but now it's about doing it and putting the pieces all together. I've reached out to restaurants and a couple of potential venues. One of them expressed interest, one restaurant. And so that's sort of the back end of it, seeing if these businesses would be interested in partnerships. And then on the front end, what would be necessary is getting enough people to hand over their email addresses and sign up and see if there are enough people who would actually be interested in doing something. So
is your email, is your website soliciting that now, like to sign up, coming and register,
Yeah.
coming?
Yeah.
Even if it's not collecting membership.
Right. Yeah. It's sort of like just email addresses.
Okay. So many do you have?
I haven't been advertising it, so probably 0 right now.
Okay.
You
Go ahead.
You say you have a survey on your website?
Yeah.
Because another thing that you might, because I know everybody's throwing a lot of questions at you that you don't have answers to, but I think you might want to redesign your survey to be able to ask specific questions and target a lot of people, make a lot of a survey that people can answer your questions, and then you have hard numbers that you can actually talk about and target and stuff like that. You can make decisions from that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that would be a good place to start because you have a clear vision. If you have a detailed question and you have specific people that you want to target, that will give you a good vision on how to be able to make moves and answer question and direction and where you're going and trying to find your target point and trying to minimize, okay, what's your specific price, who's going to pay for it, who's interested, you know, are they going to do it, are you targeting people in college, you know, it's going to change a lot of it. So I think that's a good way to start. You know, and tell people about, I mean, you're on social media, you can have people, your friends, whatever, take surveys, pass it out, just tell them to take surveys and you'll be amazed what you can see. And when you're talking to people that want to invest, you want to see hard numbers, you want to see how they're going to make that money, you know. So you have a lot of things going on, but if you design a comprehensive survey, you'll be amazed what kind of questions, answers that you would get. And from there, a lot of things will take off.
Cool. Yeah, the survey is pretty rudimentary right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
96 on email.
Yeah. You could also ask other organizations to distribute your survey for you, so that you're not just
That's true. Yeah.
Getting the people who come to your website.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty limited audience right now, I think. So just being able to get it out there and target different groups of people and be able to compare the results between working professionals and students and
yeah.
The other thing you can do and not make it secret is create buzz.
Yeah.
I mean, just go to a place where people hang out, go downtown on the 5 o'clock on Friday. Hey, have you guys heard about the Society 16 thing? This secret dinner society? And plan it.
Yeah.
I think the one secret kind of will grab people as
Just
well.
start planning. You go, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Because you want it to be secretive, you want it to be exclusive. So the marketing side of it is, how do you plan it? You go to social settings where the people you want coming into your group are hanging out, or you think they'll be, and you plan it. You plant that seed in a conversation.
Yeah.
Do you Periscope?
Do my parents what?
Do you Periscope on Twitter?
Oh, no, I don't.
You should. Now, do you go to bars?
No, I'm not 21 actually.
Okay. You should. You should. You go to places where you can talk to people, say camps downtown, or right. So walk up to people with your Periscope and, hey, have you heard about your society? And Periscope with them, and then ask them to join and follow you, and start your own following. You are your greatest advocate. Very impressed by you, but you could be even more of an advocate yourself, and then get almost a worldwide following.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
And I think you should have a secret handshake.
Yes.
You can go level 2. Level 1 is performing the service in the area. Level 2 would be putting together a template, like a secret society party in a box, with all the checklists, all the different social, etc. Every single instruction that anybody could launch it anywhere, and that could be a product.
Start leaving cards. I say secret 16. Just start leaving cards wherever you go, and people will pick it up. What in the world is that?
All right.
All right, so as a 1 Million Cup community, what can we do to help you out?
So right now, this is in the very early concept stages. So if you have any connections with restaurants or venues or know groups of people who would be interested, so if you can help me out with the back end or the front end, I would really love that.
Do we have your contact information?
No, I can give it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not here.
It'll be on the 1 Million Cups / OKC site where you can go through and see who's presenting today, and I'll have her information on it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we got another presenter coming up from Sino English.
All right, good morning. My name is Jonathan Stalling. I'm an associate professor of English at OU, specializing in English-Chinese translation studies. In 2010, Yunnan University staged an opera of mine entitled 音乐里诗. This opera is written entirely in Chinese characters. Read vertically, 音乐里诗. It would be the way you would spell the word English in Chinese characters. So if English is not possible, right, to be spelled, and when you try it, you end up with something different. It approximates the English, but is distinct from the English, creating a form of English called China English, following its own rules and behaviors. So 音乐里诗 was performed in 2010. Within a few months of it going online in China, I started to get emails from English professors and students in China using my opera to learn English. This is surprising to me because that wasn't the point of the opera, and the second was because I understood that this form of English was not very usable, as it were, at the point that you want to extract all of your investment that you put in 10, 15 years of English study. Your pronunciation should not sound like this. The problem with this form of transcription or Chinese spelling is that every Chinese character is a full syllable. There's a vowel on every character. So if you spell it, you can't create like letters do just one sound. You have two sounds at least. So please becomes 普利斯, and you can't get it any closer than that. So in English, if I wanted to learn, as I have, learn Chinese, when you see the Chinese character 我, it's like a wall. I'm not sure what to do with that, but if I see letters, right, I'm able to kind of get a lot closer. I can get somewhere near 我. But for the Chinese in reverse, of course, you don't have that option. So if you can imagine, the largest group of English speakers in the world don't have a phonetic system to learn the language, and they never have. So for 200 years, this system of using Chinese characters to approximate English is the first step towards learning English, again, for the most populous group of English speakers in the world. This has led to, again, a new form of English called China English. So I was surprised to find out that these students and teachers were using my opera in this way. I was also not surprised because of the number of people learning English in China, a novel method produced by an English professor in America. It makes intuitive sense. So that was the beginning, now over 4 years ago, for a new project where I thought, well, what would I do if I was to try to teach English using Chinese characters? And the answer is to create Sino English. So I'm going to walk through some of the products with you. So this is the iOS platform. So this is already at the App Store, waiting for deployment. Now I type in the word please. It will give all the characters and grade the characters in the vowels and consonants, telling the user, do you pronounce the first sound or the second sound, but not both sounds. Sequencing in this way, you can go to very complicated words like Don Quixote, and the Chinese learner of English would immediately know how to pronounce the word Quixote or quixotic, right? Which even most of us would probably want to double check in a dictionary. So this is a ability to surf through 130,000 English words, all coded in Sino English and fully interactive. This platform also has learning videos.
Welcome to Sino English, the first English learning system designed specifically for the needs of Chinese speakers. My name is Jonathan.
finally, it has the character reference area where it uses this style of breaking Chinese characters into front and back sounds, or consonants and vowels, going through each and every one of the different characters to quickly and intuitively show how to break them. Now we're switching over to the web apps. And the web apps are three-dimensional, fully interactive spaces where you can go and build your own words, interact with the characters, become more comfortable with the idea of cutting character sounds into vowels and consonants, and sequencing them into, again, please. So here, rather than police, we get please, because we don't have those extra sounds anymore, right? This is an app designed for children, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, all the words are there, you can interact with it, and then there's a testing apparatus where you're able to go through and spell dark, right, without the which would be the old one. It doesn't sound like dark. This does sound like dark. It's still using Chinese, but in this new way. Here for aeronautic industry, English is the standard language for all airlines across the world. Pronunciation is absolutely necessary, incredibly difficult to teach, incredibly expensive for the airline industry to train their personnel in pronunciation. So this is just a couple of the different apps that are available already. In China, I was assuming that my market was the college graduate or the college student who's already had 10 to 15 years of English, who would want to fix the problems that they'd inherited from the Sino-English environment, which are all of these pronunciation differences. So they want to iron them out. They can quickly go to this dictionary and get there. But I also tested the system on taxi drivers, bellhops, and so on, and found, to my amazement and delight, that they were able to learn English within 10 or 15 minutes, able to pronounce English words very clearly, including difficult sounds like the voiced th, the, which is always the in Chinese, or the instead of wa, so love rather than love, right? Or zh as in pleasure rather than pu lai ri, and so the r became zh, the z became the within 10 minutes, just using the iPhone app in the cab. And so I took a lot of videos of these and so on and brought it back. And so I realized that the market's not the 350 million English speakers alone, it's the other 850 million not yet English speakers who enjoy using Chinese to learn. Who wouldn't enjoy having your own graphic writing system to climb into another language? And so that is the incredible scalability and really the revolution of sign language.
Is it just Chinese? Are you going to scale it to other languages with all the different languages out there?
All right, so this is a good question. The answer is it's not just English. In other words, so I think that's the intention of your question. Maybe not, so I'll answer it both ways. In other words, I have built prototypes for German and a few others, but just sample sets. If you want to watch my TED Talk, you can on YouTube. You can see a sample of Korean, Japanese, Italian, French, Russian, and German, just kind of going through. And this is a person who speaks none of them, using the system and reading very clearly within a 5-hour period. That was a test done about 2 years ago, before all of the interactive 3D spaces were created. So now it's much faster to teach and to test. So that's scalable in other languages. But with English, it's obviously the first place to test the market because of the interest in it. English is mandatory in China. Everyone has to learn English. It's actually weighed equally with Chinese and math in the entrance examination for college. The problem is 80% of those who have studied English for 10 or 15 years do not use it after college. Why don't they use it? I did a survey of 150 college students last fall during the business incubator, POCC or I2E, and in that the overwhelming majority said it was pronunciation. They were insecure feeling in their oral communication. They studied grammar and they studied vocabulary because the tests are only testing on those. So the diagnostics for pronunciation are not yet created. This is the white whale that English learning companies in China and other places are chasing, which is artificial intelligence to try to get algorithms that can actually test pronunciation years away. What you just saw is a whole other paradigm, right? It's already created. You can actually test pronunciation because you're testing, does a person understand the phonetic sequence of English? And here, you can actually test that with extreme accuracy. whether someone can say it out loud yet takes practice, right? So this is about creating a mental map of a language, just like letters do for us. To pronounce "wo," I have to actually learn and pronounce it and practice it. But if I can see "wo," like I get almost all the way there, right? And that's what Chinese characters can't do in reverse. Now, as to your other question, can you teach English with graphic systems? I've also tested that, and it also in the TED Talk, I write English and Korean, Arabic, and Japanese, and kind of speculate on what you would have to do in order to augment those scripts in order to teach English. But those markets are much smaller and more developed. So the China market is really big, but at the same time highly underdeveloped. So it's only a $4 billion industry that's half the size of Korea right now, because Korea's been in the game longer. But China is increasing at 25% per year, and it's a nearly infinite growth. So lots of VC capital in the EFL market in China. So English is the place to test it with Chinese in this way. Good question.
Talk about your business model and kind of the state of the business.
All right. So I'm the inventor, and I did go through a business incubator and did follow the lean startup for most of this. This is 2 patents already through primary prosecution. They're no longer provisional. And so the question really for the business model is contingent on the question of intellectual property. And in China, for software, that's a very tricky issue. So investors will want to know that this cat's not out of the bag yet. So it's hard to get metrics. So when I went to China over the summer, I gave 10 public lectures in 4 provinces with large groups testing the system, getting feedback, but I did not release it into the zoo, right? I didn't let the download go through so that it can't be reverse engineered. So in other words, it's difficult to get revenue to create a metric that you would typically use because this is a radically scalable product, but at the same time, if we go out premature without hitting the market large,
do anything on the capstone with that.
Right. So this is a catch-22, and it's something that a number of different entrepreneurs and myself have been working on. I have 3 different business models, all presently being pursued. One is VC in China. The other is a partner in China with digital education, kind of licensing agreement, if you will, for distribution and marketing. And the third would be seeking out VC capital in America, so you would be able to hit the Chinese market large and straight away without, as it were, the typical metrics you would normally go to a VC with.
Have you talked to some of the folks like Duolingo, Zestone, things like that I'm sure would love to get into an additional $4 billion industry that probably have very limited exposure there, and probably have some, but probably relatively limited, with patented technology that you can expose to them under CDA and yards and pursue licensing in parallel to the other efforts.
Yeah. So the answer is yes and no. The answer is yes, but now over a year ago. And so when we're talking, it was in the mode of getting out of the building, right? Learning about their ecosystem, how they do their business, what their methods are, what they've encountered, and how do they deal with pronunciation. The answer is behavioral linguistics. You do through rote repetition and try to get people into immersive situations. But the problem, in China is that is the problem. The immersive space is the Chinese English ecology. So if you were to say, 四百首, here you don't know what I'm saying, but everyone knows in China that's special. So I can show you 3 characters, 四百首, and you know that's an English word. That's a whole other level of English, which is really different from our own. So in China, it's really hard to use behavioral repetition because everyone's speaking a different form of English. So you have to go out of the country in order to get there. So Duolingo is interesting because it uses Skyping and other forms of interaction, computer interaction on the screen. But the point, I guess, that I'm making is that each of them have very different paradigms, and there's really nothing, and I do mean absolutely nothing like what I'm using here. So it would require all of them to take a very different approach to their entire idea of what EFL teaching pedagogy looks like. There's nothing like this, nor has there ever been. So I think that their risk is pretty high. So I didn't approach it as a business venture. I was simply talking to them in order to understand what they were doing and realize that it was that they had as it were, an Achilles heel pronunciation and nothing new to offer.
Yeah, how do the Chinese EFL companies deal with piracy then? Is it just that the price points are so much different? They know the market better. Usually when American companies try to sell something in China, it's way overpriced, way out of the culture. Is that kind of how they compete with essentially pirates in their own country, or how do they do it? have you discussed that with them? Because that's really the biggest concern, right?
That's right.
I don't want to get this thing out there and then it gets closed in 2 minutes. And,
yeah, and that was a hard lesson in the lean startup model that I was pursuing, in order to get the kind of metrics I'd like to have, because how many downloads, how many premium upgrades got down, and so on. Problem is, in order to get out there, the marketing distribution is almost coercive in the Chinese ecosystem. You have middlemen that propagate and really distribute, and so on. It's a complicated and different system than it is here. Lots of piggybacking. So. Where one company will distribute its own stuff over the top of something else, and often that would pirate it. So it's a very different space, and it means we need partners. And I think there are 3 ways in, right? I'm going to get to directly answer your question, but the 3 ways in would be either A, to have a VC that's going to protect his or her own capital, right, in whatever the methods, the Chinese methods would be. So it's their investment, they're going to protect it as best they can. Second is find a partner for distribution and marketing. But the partner model is the dangerous one. It's also the easiest one. It's one closest to accomplishing it. But the dangerous is that as soon as they augment the technology, they have IP claims, and even you don't have a third-party arbiter between China and the U.S. for licensing or infringements. The transparency of revenue streams and sharing is all very difficult to work out on paper. And so that one, though, would be at least you would have a company that's doing it for you, would understand the ecosystem. The third is the one, which I will be asking you as my primary ask here, is to go to and find the right kind of VC who's really interested in exciting, radical, paradigm-shifting technology with radical scalability, but at the same time, zero metrics, right? And I think that they would agree with me that was the right move, actually. Because if you want to capture the market, you can't collect this out in this slow way and capture the normal data. So the answer, real quick to it, I guess, would be that the Chinese capital will protect itself. And if you come in with American VC capital, you would need to be able to, as it were, buy into the system and headhunt the right people from the EFL companies who would understand how to do this best and the market large and fast.
Caution you not to think of VCs as working for you to protect their own investment. They're not going to invest unless you have done the work to protect your own, to protect their investment. The onus is on you, not on them.
Yeah. So all legal avenues have been taken, right? International patent claims, things like that. So.
Are you a national phase?
What's that?
Are you a national phase at PCT?
It is the national. Everything has been already activated for international patenting. But it is so the national. We're 1.5 years in. So I think the answer is yes to that. I know that we've applied for international protection, so past provision. So that's about as far as we can go. I think beyond that, it's really I guess my intuition. Which is that a Chinese capital will know how to protect itself. Not that the VC would, but that an investor will always better understand his or her ecosystem and be wanting to maximize profits. And so therefore that's a kind of, I assume, a stronger protection than it would be trying to operate a kind of medium, small-sized company from American shores. 2 hands, I'll go here and then.
Okay. I thought the airline industry that you mentioned was really interesting. I wondered if you could speak on that a little bit more, and maybe if that's kind of a primary market to go into. Maybe have a little bit more protection with some of those larger corporations.
Yeah. So if I was, as it were, the CEO of this kind of small, medium-sized startup technology learning platform, they're probably my first customer. We have talked to American Airlines and a few others, kind of talk to our personnel to find out, how they resource English learning and so on. It's industry standard practices, but they're very expensive, right? So think about even the spelling. If you've ever heard of Charlie and whatever vector or something. Anyway, a lot of those words are impossible to say in Chinese English. So you can't, it's very difficult to use the disambiguating form of English if you're a Chinese speaker because of what's called phonotactics. This is kind of interesting. Cece, if you don't mind me using your first name here, phonotactics is a kind of scary sounding word, but what it means is every language has a different sequence of sounds that are allowable. Now, Cece's characters would be pronounced zi, or zi. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the characters. I can't see the tone. But that short I, like sit down, doesn't come after S in English unless it has a T or something. Whereas we do have C. So because we know that, we are more comfortable pronouncing it with the E. And then the zi would be like cats, plural. But we never see it in the beginning of a word. So it's really hard for us to put it there, and so on. So all of those, imagine those problems for English speakers without letters to assist, or without some of the flexibility English has. It's really hard for Chinese speakers to nail lots of different combinations of consonants. So the airline industry spends a lot of money in pronunciation, and there's only one way they can get there, which is rote practice, which means a lot of man hours. It goes into training their international personnel. So it's a big area. I want to hit it, but at this stage in the game, I'm looking at operating more as founder, partner, and trying not, as it were, to go all the way down into a fully embodied business. That could be the way to go still, but that was about a year ago my plan, and now I'm thinking of pivoting to try to find big partners early on, given the need to hit things a little faster. Okay, yes?
Yeah, just a question. So basically you're potentially going into a market with no protection that you can really think of that is very large and easily copied and probably most likely be ripped off by your partner, right? Have you thought about, instead of trying to license the technology to the partner and kind of getting royalty, basically selling it up front, is that essentially you're saying, look, we want X million dollars up front right now, we think you're going to rip it off, essentially it's yours, you're going to do all the legwork, you're going to make all this, because then what they do with it, and maybe it is $1 billion idea or something, but that does get rid of they rip you off because you sold it to them.
Front load the piracy.
That's right. Okay, so that is in play. We are in conversation with large EFL companies. I haven't been to China. I need to go. So here's the problem with it. I'm fine with it ultimately. What I want is my version of this in the world. I want to be a part of the shift. Revenue for me, is not my top priority, but protection is. That what I do is out there first, and not a bad version of it. I'd like to take this through to the point of its consumption. However, that is what we're doing. The problem is that you're going to have to sell. You have to sell cheap because it's not yet tested. There's risk involved. No company is going to buy something even so promising as this at a premium at all. If I could build it, get those metrics, go ahead and go to the airline industry and get a few large corporations, every time that happens, mind you, it's done quickly enough and not copied, it becomes more valuable. But the risk is that it is copied around that time and then becomes less valuable. So this is a real cat and cat and mouse.
The other alternative is you give it away for free, flood the market, keep away competitors, and then try to monetize afterwards.
Yeah. So that's my original idea from like 2 years ago. You hated this idea, obviously, that agency. But my sense is that the copycats are not a problem. Actually, it's a proof that the method works, and it will increase the likelihood that we gain revenue from some part of the market share. And so I think it isn't this big boogeyman. It does mean, that we're succeeding and that people have interest, and that hopefully we can still capture at least some of the premium market as the inventor with the actual patents and so on. I think that copycats aren't to be totally feared, but these are the concerns, and these are what I'm juggling depending on, do I go down the road of startup and really try to get some metrics, put it out in the open, or do I try to continue to find a partner early on who will see what's happened here, look at the demos that I've created in terms of the users and so on, and try and go, all right, I'm in. Let's try to hit this a little harder and faster, or from inside China.
I feel your pain, and you should feel my pain, because I've flown in the Livermore Matador Valley area, which is east of San Francisco, and that's where all of the Far East Asian airlines, every single one of them does their training because it's 330 clear days a year, etc. And I've seen those guys so close, I could tell they didn't shave. Their clearances are horrible, the radio procedures are horrible. But I did notice in a couple of pilot schools that I toured that the learning systems that were gamified, they responded to that. So they got after it like nobody's business when there was some kind of ranking system, and that's a stereotypical Asian cultural aspersion, but it really is true. So can you imagine, for example, controlling your exclusivity and front-loading your piracy
by making it some kind of game situation where the only way people can get recognition is participating in a well-protected platform, for example, Xbox, where they're participating in a scoring platform where that is the control. That is the control. The only way you're going to get recognition and compete against other people is by being on this platform that somebody else bigger is already spending all the money to keep exclusive, and they're fighting the hackers that are using illegal accounts and hack boxes and all that junk.
That's pretty cool. I mean, obviously,
you can make an interesting point because you're talking about the protection of the platform.
That's right, which is not. I mean, as an investor, I freak out when I hear you say, "I'm interested in the revenue. I want to see." Okay, I'm intellectually, I'm with you 100%, but don't say that. Don't say that. But it's protecting the platform. I don't want to be in that business.
A hell lot of money. I'm saying as a
I hear you.
I'm willing to give up more equity than.
I have an idea just like yours that I want to see out there in the world. Airline safety, blah blah blah. Everybody here has heard it 100 times, but. What I'm getting is let the other guy be the sheriff and just ride on the coattails of the sheriff on some platform.
Yeah, I like this idea. Obviously, as you can see, gamification is already built into the system. The second patent is on the idea of using blocks, which help more intuitively understand the space. Characters can have two sounds and break it and so on, and then you can reassemble them and test them and so on.
Yeah.
So that that was a whole other level of IP that came on in the implementation of the more intuitive design. So gamification is a big part of it. And like I said, testing and diagnostics is the thing that's missing from pronunciation testing. And I've actually already solved that problem because now, with gamification of the sequencing of sounds, you don't even have to use the mouth in order to know whether the person at least understands the actual sequence of sounds they should be pronouncing based on their own language, which is what letters do again. So, you could be tested on pronunciation of Chinese by being able to accurately represent the sounds, in letters, and you can test that, So now we can do that in reverse. So testing is there, gamification is there, it's protection. It's a really great idea. We should talk afterwards as well. So the airline industry is like I said, is really the first go-to for me. I thought for sure this is a place to to find large clients quickly, and then really scale from there and try to break into the large market.
You're the founder and inventor, but you're not the CEO. Do you have the business side component partner? And did they have strong experience with a former kind of EFL company executive that can have the Rolodex, they can have established relationships, and they know how to navigate those kind of deals because they've sat on from the other side, so they can really help you. That might be even a more important piece of the puzzle for you prior to outside capital, because number one, they'll help you with getting outside capital. Number two, they'll help you navigate to get yourself in stronger positions so that you may not need the outside capital or be in a better valuation for that capital, and also help you drive forward faster. And you said you've been to China recently, but they could be there right now talking in meetings with the EFL companies and getting that.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, it's a good question. Is this going to sound counterintuitive? And I suppose it is. I do believe that the technology, its demonstrations, its capabilities, radical scalability, and so on, it sets this apart from most technology platforms in the sense that I'm waiting for either a Chinese investor or a Western investor who I believe would understand the ecosystem better than me and find the right person to put into that place. If I come with that team already with equity divided, which is the only way I can do it right now, I'm going to devalue the whole thing. I'm going to come in with regional players, and I'm going to probably have like a LLC or something rather than a C corp, and that's what you're going to need for international stockholders. So to get to that level of capitalization, I'm going to need an angel investor, and that's going to devalue it as well. I actually think I'm it. Me, my patents, these demos, my experience. If I can't sell that, maybe, that's too bad. I think if I build small, then all the problems I'm talking about will become totally entrenched. Right now, I'm clean, clear, free. We can go, I can move. I'm in China 3 to 4 times a year. So I feel like I'm very mobile, and this whole platform is ripe for investment if the investor understands this kind of this.
Because you're putting the investor cart before the team members.
That's right. I think so, because the investor can, I believe, especially Chinese investors, will have a better sense of who should be running the show than I do.
Or worse, you'd be vulnerable because what I'd call hawk angel could just sense that vulnerability and swoop in and again knock your price way down and where you lose control. So again, you're not sensitive to pricing, but you would lose control of how it goes.
Yeah. So let me clarify my non-interest. Oh, never mind. Okay. Yeah. I am interested in revenue.
Yes.
I don't necessarily need as much equity as a typical founder because I have different priorities than making $1 billion. 800 million is fine. All right. Thank you so much.
What can we do to kind of help you spread the word?
So I've already made my pitch. I need something. First of all, you've already given it to me. This is the third iteration of my pitch. The practices were incredibly helpful. With my head deep in the sand of this technology, it's really, really helpful to be talking to other business people and entrepreneurs. I can't thank you enough for that opportunity.
850 million.
Yeah.
Okay, I want maybe there's another planet I don't know about. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Look at that. So second is I do need introductions to people who would be interested in talking about investor first platforms, for starting this company. Maybe to set me straight, as it were, clarify things. But I'd like to be in conversation directly with people who would be interested in this. It will move very quickly at this point. I already have, in the water in China and in these two different, VC as well as partners. So there's not a lot of time. I have not prioritized Western capital as I should have, I think. And that's some of the feedback from my rehearsals, and I'd like to pursue that. So if you have people that you think would be interested in, or intermediaries that would link, up the chain to someone who I could sit down for 10 minutes and lay this thing out, that would be much appreciated. And of course, your questions, comments, and continued conversation would be great to find my contact information.
Thank you. All right, if anybody knows any entrepreneurs, startups, if you're out in town, if you find like a new bakery or something along that line, let them know about 1millioncups.com/OKC or OKC. Have them apply. You need entrepreneurs, so if you know anybody, please start trying to spread the word. Take some pictures. Hashtag 1MCOKC. Go ahead, Greg.
Can you give us an idea? Let's say three templates of kinds of companies you're looking for.
Anything, right?
You said bakery, dry cleaner,
that was
real estate agents.
They're entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody. If they're as long as they've been in business, they're a new startup within a few years. As long as you don't go to like McDonald's or something. Like just a few years in business or along those time frame, just kind of that'll work.
Okay.
So yeah. Make sure you check out our YouTube channel. Watch these guys on YouTube. Also, don't forget your business cards for the Disney's Creativity and Innovation event that they're going to be hosting right here at Rose State. And, does anybody remember Carrie Flack from Room Swap? Oh, yeah. Yeah. She just funded yesterday on Kickstarter. So thank you, everybody, for spreading the word. That's all we have. Feel free to sit around and mingle, talk to our speakers and everything else.